So welcome everyone to this morning's special seminar. For those that don't know me, my name is Mike Apec. I'm a faculty member in the School of Engineering and the School of Sustainability. And among other things, I am also the faculty director of Stanford's Research Center in South Korea. I am delighted to introduce this morning's speaker, the Honorable Lee Eun-ju. She's a member of the 22nd National Assembly of the Republic of Korea, and is affiliated with the Democratic Party of Korea and has a strong academic background, having completed her LLM in economic law at Yonsei, her LLM at Northwestern, a BA in French language and literature from Seoul National, and she's currently pursuing her PhD in North Korean studies at Korea University. In addition to her legislative work and leadership, she also holds key positions within the Democratic Party and oversees a variety of committees that focus on economic growth, trade, and industry. And so she's going to be speaking this morning on expanding the U.S. Republic of Korea alliance into strategic industrial alliance. And I'm very interested in the second part of this title around don't kill the golden goose. Always an important role for any politician to remember. And so without further ado, please join me in welcoming the Honorable Lee Eun-ju.
Good morning, distinguished professors and students. It's a great pleasure to be here with you today. My name is Lee Eun-ju, as they introduced, and I serve as a member of National Assembly of the Republic of Korea, as well as the Supreme Council of the ruling Democratic Party, DPK. It's my honor to speak at Stanford University, the heart of global innovation, about the future of the U.S.-Korea leadership. Some of you may be quite familiar with Korea, while others may not be. However, let me briefly share our story. 80 years ago, Korea gained independence at the end of World War II. 75 years ago, we endured the brutal 3-year proxy war between the United States and the Soviet Union during the Cold War, in which approximately 1 million soldiers from around the world died, and 240,000 civilians lost their lives. Out of the ashes of that devastation, we rebuilt our economy and overcame military dictatorship. Although the challenge of resolving the North Korean nuclear issue remains, Korea today possesses one of the world's top 5 ranked military forces. Our rise was made possible by the sacrifice of your grandfathers during the Korean War and also by the generous support, technology sharing, and cooperation from the United States and other free democratic nations in the decades that followed. Koreans have never forgotten that. That's why the RK-US alliance is sacred to us. We call it a blood ally, meaning brothers who have shared blood together. Regardless of political leanings, whether left or right, all Koreans share the same recognition of its importance. Recently, President Lee Jae-myung stated during his visit to Washington that the era of 안미경중, meaning security with the U.S. and economy with China, is over. As I understand, because in reality nowadays, China is a strong competitor to Korea, while the United States is a complementary partner in our industrial structure. Of course, due to geographical proximity. The economy of Korea and that of China are still broadly connected to each other. Yet, China's overproduction and technology theft are threatening not only Korea's economy, but also the global economy. And instability in Northeast Asia makes it inevitable for Korea to adopt a more selective and strategic approach. Therefore, I strongly insist that Korea should expand its strategic economic cooperation with the United States. Today, I would like to propose that we strengthen our two nations benefit-sharing partnership by evolving the existing alliance into a strategic industrial alliance. It is clear that we are living through a period of great transformation. On one hand, the rivalry between the United States and China is intensifying. On the other, we are facing a range of challenges. The restructuring of global supply chains, spread of protectionism, and great transformation in AI and energy. In particular, manufacturing is no longer simply about producing goods. It has become a strategic asset that defines national security, global leadership, and future prosperity. Semiconductors, batteries, shipbuilding, defense, and energy are all prime examples. Against the backdrop, South Korea's position is truly distinctive. Structurally, our two countries are complementary industrial partners. This means the survival and vitality of South Korea's industrial ecosystem is directly linked to America's strategic interests. In fact, as a global leader in advanced manufacturing, South Korea holds the key to what President Trump has described as the U.S. manufacturing revival. South Korea is arguably the only advanced manufacturing powerhouse capable of surpassing or replacing China. More importantly, it's far more technologically reliable. We have already proven our world-class capabilities in high-tech industries such as semiconductors, batteries, shipbuilding, and precision manufacturing. While China may be rapidly catching up in areas like robotics, South Korea continues to maintain a clear edge in semiconductors, batteries, and materials and components. In fact, it's hard to deny that China's effort to close the gap have relied on unfair practices, including overproduction, dumping sales, and massive subsidies that ultimately erode global trust and distort market fairness. This is precisely why, from the perspective of the United States, South Korea is an irreplaceable partner. In the face of China's offensive, South Korea is the only country capable of recreating its truly advanced manufacturing ecosystem in the United States. What about Japan? I think its overall manufacturing competitiveness has already been declining. And Germany, despite its outstanding technologies, it suffers from cost effectiveness, so that its global competitiveness has weakened considerably. And while Southeast Asian nations do hold great growth potential. China's influence there is already deeply entrenched, making it difficult for them to serve as a genuine strategic counterbalance. By contrast, South Korea not only possesses world-class manufacturing expertise, but also stands as a trusted ally that shares common values with the United States. The U.S., for its part, has unmatched capital strength, leading AI and big tech capabilities, and a vast domestic market. Structurally, our two countries' industrial ecosystems are almost perfectly complementary. If Seoul's advanced manufacturing know-how is combined with Washington's capital, big tech leadership, and innovation capacity, we can move beyond ordinary industrial cooperation to create new growth engines that will drive the global economy. Of course, we also face significant difficulties and challenges. China continues to wage unfair competition through pushing inventory with price dumping subsidies. So what would happen if the United States were to apply the same tariff standards to South Korea, a key ally, as it does to China? South Korea's manufacturing ecosystem would weaken. China would monopolize global manufacturing dominance, and America's own vision of a manufacturing revival would be undermined. Let me also address recent trade and investment negotiations between our two nations. Korea has now become one of the largest foreign investors in the United States. In fact, in some years, the largest investor. According to the Financial Times, during UN Trade and Development data, Korea was the top investor in the United States in 2023, with direct investment amounting to $21.5 billion, surpassing all other countries. Moreover, in the first half of 2024, Korean firms created 17% of all new jobs generated by foreign investors in the United States, outpacing the United Kingdom, 15%, Germany, which is 11%, China, 9%, and Japan, 9%. That demonstrates that Korea is not only a major investor, but also a vital contributor to American job creation and industrial growth. Yet, despite this, many Koreans were deeply hurt and disappointed by what happened recently in Georgia, and by the perception of improper treatment in certain trade practices. Korea, though smaller in GDP than Japan, has been negotiating in good faith and doing its utmost to meet U.S. expectations. However, discussions on the so-called $350 billion direct cash investment have reached a deadlock. Frankly speaking, Korea is not refusing to invest. It simply cannot make such an immediate cash transfer without risking a severe foreign exchange crisis. Our foreign reserves are not backed by a reserve currency like the yen or the dollar. And if we were to inject that amount directly into an investment fund, it could destabilize our entire financial system. we still remember the devastating 1997 to 1998 Asian financial crisis when countless firms were bankrupt. My own father's company, which supplied shipbuilding materials, collapsed during that chain of defaults. Oh, it was really a miserable period for me. I vividly remember the Gathering Gold campaign when ordinary Koreans donated their gold jewelry to save the country. Actually, this is the experience that I made up my mind to become a politician in Korea. That experience left a lasting national trauma. Recent polls show that over 80% of Koreans oppose the $350 billion cash demand, reflecting this collective memory. Koreans do not feel indebted in this partnership. They simply want fairness and respect. Moreover, why should a highly trusted ally like Korea be required to pay in full and in cash upfront? What the U.S. ultimately needs are ships, nuclear power plants, and SMRs, and a lot of powerhouses. Projects to be built by globally reliable Korean corporations that even hardly require government guarantees. These projects take years of planning and construction. Once they are contractually secured, the investment will naturally follow. Also, investments are made by companies, not government. If Korean firms are to risk large-scale investments in the U.S., they must also see clear mutual benefit. Otherwise, they cannot justify it to their shareholders or to the public. Demanding immediate cash payment as a condition for lower tariffs would not only harm Korean sentiment, but could also damage the very trust that sustains the alliance with U.S. Furthermore, manufacturing revival cannot be bought by money itself. It depends on know-how transfer and long-term commitment based on shared trust. Yet, no matter how much we invest in localization in the United States, it is impossible to transfer all of South Korea's skilled workers and small, mid-sized enterprises. Indeed, its entire manufacturing and industrial ecosystem wholesale to the United States. Nor is it realistic to expect American workers and small and mid-sized enterprises to assume such full ecosystem role in a very short term. Therefore, if South Korea's domestic manufacturing ecosystem collapses, a strategic partnership with the U.S. for manufacturing revival will also become impossible. The survival and vitality of South Korea's industrial base is inseparably tied to America's own national interest, especially in strategic industries. If the United States fails to respect South Korea as a manufacturing partner and instead treats it like just China or etc., focusing only on immediate tariff revenues, this will inevitably deliver the very outcome the U.S. fears most, which is ceding full industry dominance to China. I'd like to say it will bring us to the end of killing the goose that laid the golden egg. Therefore, the path forward for our bilateral relationship is clear. Our alliance must now evolve beyond a military alliance and grow into a strategic industrial alliance. First, joint investment, joint production, and know-how sharing. A skilled workforce is the most critical element of manufacturing. Visa and quota systems should therefore be improved to ensure that South Korean corporate staff and workers can remain in the United States without difficulty during investment projects. Second, cooperation in AI. While the U.S. holds clear advantages in foundational technologies, South Korea can apply them to generate new innovations in fields such as autonomous manufacturing and healthcare, etc. I expect our cooperation in AI and manufacturing may create a new era of physical AI. Third, energy cooperation. With the United States providing abundant natural resources, South Korea can contribute its world-class expertise in power generation and plant engineering. Fourth, cooperation in shipbuilding and defense. Shipbuilding is not simply an economic partnership. It is an extension of the security alliance. Fifth, cooperation in culture and art industry, and some derivative industries such as entertainment, food, and beauty industries. With unique and attractive culture and idea, Korea may contribute contents and culture industry while U.S. provide capital and big market. Let me add some comments on shipbuilding and defense cooperation. President Trump recently stated during the U.S.-Korea summit that he intends to purchase ships from Korea. However, as many of you know, there are still numerous regulations in place that effectively prevent foreign shipbuilders from entering the United States market, such as the Jones Act and Burns-Tollefson Amendment. Korean shipbuilders are actively investing locally to cooperate with the U.S., but they are unable to deliver ships at the speed and scale America demands, simply because shipbuilding, like all advanced manufacturing, requires high-skilled labor. Even if a Korean shipbuilding firm establishes a yard in the United States, the deep craftsmanship and accumulated know-how cannot be transferred overnight. Without Korean engineers, technicians, and an entire ecosystem of component suppliers, large vessels cannot be built to the same standard. Therefore, at least for the near term, it will be necessary to manufacture major components in Korea and assemble or finalize them in the United States. To enable this, the United States government should consider relaxing certain regulations through executive order or legislative amendment. We must also be realistic. Even if $150 billion were instantly deposited into a shipbuilding fund, as a Trump government requires, ships would not simply materialize overnight. What matters most is ensuring that these ships are built properly, delivered safely, and contribute meaningfully to the U.S. industrial revival. In that sense, flexibility in regulation and investment process is far more valuable than rigidity in financing. Around the world, defense spending is rising as nations face growing security challenges. In this context, it is increasingly important to incorporate unmanned systems and AI systems into defense capabilities. Korea and the United States should actively explore joint investment, co-development, and even co-production of next-generation defense systems. The reality is that the U.S. cannot supply the entire global market alone. And in some cases, U.S. defense products are simply too expensive for many allied nations to afford. Until now, the level of defense cooperation between our two countries has largely been limited to offset trade tied to Korean arms purchases. But even those offset trades have been virtually non-existent over the past 3 years. It is time to move beyond the buyer-seller relationship and toward a genuine partnership of innovation, one that leverages Korea's advanced manufacturing capacity and the United States' cutting-edge defense technologies and global leadership. The purpose of our bilateral cooperation is not only tally up trade surplus or deficits. Its true goal is to share mutual benefits within a fair, rules-based order. South Korea investing in U.S., not only to sell products in U.S. market without tariff burden, but also to create new technology, new market, and innovation together with U.S. It's a kind of a fusion. The United States, in turn, needs South Korea's manufacturing expertise and skilled workforce. When these strengths unite, our two nations can grow together and create a larger global pie. Neither of any advanced technology can be realized without manufacturing technology. For more than 70 years, our alliance has been grounded in military trust. Now, building on that strong foundation, we must open a new chapter as a strategic industrial alliance. This is the only path to overcoming China's unfair competition, the overproduction, which will end to, a kind of over surplus in the global economy. But I think it's a serious tragedy. Securing resilient global supply chains and ensuring that democracies around the world prosper together. South Korea is ready. Together with the United States, we will assure in a new era of strategic industrial alliance, one that I'm confident will bring greater prosperity to both nations. I look forward to your support in strengthening and elevating our bilateral partnership. Thank you very much for listening.